welcome to Podcast versus Player, episode 231. I'm one of your hosts, Cal, and as always, I'm joined by a man whose friend has a Quality Street chocolate blocking his windpipe. I said, the purple one. He said, yeah, that's him.
Christ.
Whose arse is like a peach. It's hairy and it makes a horrible yogurt. Dirty bloody Dan. When we're pointing, there he is. Oh, the finger guns are back.
They're back in form, back in season. We're back in fingering season, I was going to say.
Fingering season.
Definitely not fingering season.
How the diddly devil are you, sir?
I am fine. The weather is starting to improve. I know I'm still in my big pimpin dressing gown, but it is starting to get a little bit warmer outside, so probably within the next couple of months or so, I'm no doubt going to be whinging on one of these about how fucking hot it is again.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to try and make use of the cold whilst I can. It keeps my PC healthy.
I'm more... this is the only podcast I think that you'd ever have someone describe a Jedi dressing gown as a pimp dressing gown.
It isn't.
Is that not your Jedi robe?
No, that's over there.
Oh, man, who's got more than one dressing gown?
Someone with a big pimping lifestyle, that's who. And that's me.
All right, good Charlotte. Jesus.
Sometimes I want to be big Sithin. Sometimes I want to be big pimping.
But it's a Jedi robe, not a Sith robe.
Yeah, but maybe this one is. If this one had a hood, this would be.
And you're like, I can't think of any like almost gangster Sith lords. There has to be one, doesn't there? There's got to be like a proper in it for the money rather than the world
like
domination.
I don't know. There's probably a bunch of them who just sort of like, I just like killing people, so I thought this would be a good outlet for me.
Good outlet. Hey, speaking of Jedis, there's some new footage for Fallen Order 2.
I've seen what I need to see. I have no intentions of seeing anything more. I'm just like, cool, that looks like it's the same again. I'm okay with that.
One thing that has been added that I'm going to spoil, it's not a spoiler in the slightest, so don't worry. The timing, like the time for looting stuff has been shortened, so it doesn't take as long to open a box. Because before you go to the box and then the droid would like and then jump in and just rummage around for ages and then come out. But now he just opens it up and you get what's in there.
But I like that.
I did like the
That's
first.
That's the only part of the game that I like.
I'm not gonna buy it now. No, I liked it the first few times, but then it's annoying.
Well, no, I'll tell you what's annoying. Instead of maybe removing animations of getting shit out of boxes, how about you add more animations in for every time you have to do like a fucking finishing move? I don't want to see the same 50 fucking kill moves on like
there's no
an ATSD or whatever.
Moves, so I assume there's new kill moves, I'm guessing.
Maybe, but again, when you have to kill like the same sort of like dual wielding robot or whatever, it's the same death animation every time. It's just like you couldn't have done like 6 of these so you can alternate them maybe. I do like when I'm in a room with 4 of them.
Yeah, you got to see the same thing.
It just sort of I'm just sort of like, oh, this. I know this is like incredibly complicated to make, but fucking hell.
No, because like other games have varied animations. It's just on a random thing. Sometimes you might get the same one 3 times in a row, but sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
I'm not a programmer of any kind, but if like smaller indie games can do it, pretty sure fucking EA could do it.
Well, it's whether they want to do it. Maybe that's it. They go, how much is it going to cost for another animation? Forget it.
He's just saying
that looks good.
In the mocap, he's like, I can literally just do something. No, you've done enough.
No,
get out.
We're not going to animate that as well. Next.
We've already cut the times we need to have you to open a box, so you're not doing anything else. But it looks very good. I watched a very, very quick 15-second thing, and I was like, and same as you, I was like, now I've seen enough. Now I don't want to see anymore. But
it's looking I'm going to be getting it. It looks good. I enjoyed the first one. Going to enjoy the second one, presumably. I can't wait for Cal Kestis to come through into live action. He will do it. I guarantee it.
I am still waiting for. I'm pretty sure he's going to show up in the Bad Batch.
No one wants that.
I do. I like the Bad Batch.
Put him in the fucking Mandalorian, the best show that they've got so far. Well, maybe Andor.
No, because
I don't think
this is long after Cal Kestis.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Mandalorian's in between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. Cal Kestis is at the start of Order 66.
I thought Mando was between Empire. No, is it not?
Yeah, it's between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens.
No, fair enough then. Well, then Andor would be about the right-ish kind of time, I suppose, because that's sort of like before the construction of the Death Star. So
let's give us a Fallen Order TV show.
No,
I don't want it that much.
It would be him rolling around and forgetting how to do fucking things, and it just wind me up.
I don't think it'd follow the games to the letter.
Well, speaking of TV shows that follow the games to the letter, Callum, excellent segue by me. Thank you very much. I've been playing the new Hogwarts Legacy.
That's not what I was going to say.
Oh, what? No, I mean, Last of Us.
There we go.
So, last podcast, we'd watched the first 2 episodes. As it's been 2 weeks, we've watched 2 more episodes. Callum, is this the best game to anything that you've ever seen?
No.
Because that's what a lot of people are saying right now.
No. Because I was thinking about this.
I know what you're thinking. Mortal Kombat.
No.
I know what you're thinking.
Definitely not. But pretty close. But no cigar. It's a weird one because I was thinking about it after we did the podcast. And we gave, pretty sure Halo was mentioned and probably Mortal Kombat, Tomb Raider, Assassin's Creed, everything else. But you know what wasn't mentioned, Daniel? Fucking Arcane.
That I haven't seen.
It's absolutely mind-blowingly excellent, and it's one of my favourite shows ever. However, I've never played League of Legends.
well, this is what I was going to ask, because I thought League of Legends was like a
MOBA.
MOBA, yeah. I don't know how much of that sort of story like ties into it. Like Overwatch, for example's sake, that's like a cool team-based FPS, whatever. But I've seen all the Blizzard shorts for all the intros because those are amazing. And I'm just like, if you wanted to make a show about that, I don't have to play the game to get why all this is cool. No. With League, though, I don't know if there's like that kind of story that's been made into the TV show.
I've never...
Not TV show, but...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is still a TV show, isn't it? It's just an animated TV show.
No, I mean, it's a streaming show rather than...
It's not
network TV.
Yeah, but it's... I know, again, never played League, so correct me if I'm wrong, but all of the characters have a lot of lore and a lot of backstory, and
that could very well be the case.
Things. So,
but what I'm saying is, in terms of like from the source material, what you see if you're playing League, if there's a cutscene for every, like an intro thing for everything, is this the same thing? Is it identical?
I would imagine this is the same as Knights of the Republic and World of Warcraft and stuff, where it's just a game and that's all you do. But every now and again, it's a fucking mental video for you to watch that makes the game look way better than it actually fucking is.
Yeah.
And I imagine that's the same with League. And again, MOBAs aren't my cup of tea. Give a few a go. I don't think League's ever been one of them, I'll be honest.
To be fair though, like apart from you playing Fortnite, anything that's usually like sort of like super popular big numbers like League, like I was gonna say Fortnite, but never do play that.
PlayerUnknown's Battleground.
Kind of exactly, stuff like that. We just sort of like, if everyone's into it, it's gonna have like a huge learning curve, and we're too old and shit at games to be able to get.
I mean, that's still the case with Fortnite. I'm still old and shit, but it's really annoying because it's at the point
on topic,
now.
Callum.
No. This
on
is
topic.
We're
trying to do this quick this time.
This is on topic. So Zoe was like, "Do you reckon they're going to add Ellie and Joel to The Last of Us to Fortnite?" Obviously, we've had Kratos, and
Isaac's just been added.
Yeah. There's loads of gaming properties and especially TV shows and movies when they're at the height of the popularity. But up to now, nothing. But I really expected them to add, because they did for the Uncharted movie. They added Nate and Chloe, and it was obviously the PlayStation skins and the movie skins. So you had Tom Holland and the girl playing Chloe in the movie, so you could switch between them. And I thought they'd do the same with Last of Us and give us a Pedro Pascal and a Joel from the game skin, but
maybe it's coming.
I'd like to think so.
To, like, the release of like is it the PS5 version as well that's in March, or is it just
PC? It's already out on PS5. That's the
that's fine.
That's the one.
But the launch date has been pushed back though, because it was supposed to be originally at the start of March, and it's been pushed back until the end of March. Which, as per their statement, they've just gone, we just want to get it right. Like, people have been waiting for this for a long time. We want to make sure that it works and it's good and whatever.
I think they're lying, Dan, because it's going to be the same as every other PlayStation port. It's not made for PC. It's just the PS5 version. And what I think is they're waiting for the show to end so that people don't play the game and then go, I don't need to fucking watch the rest of the show now. I know what's going to happen.
Potentially.
That's what I think it is.
Maybe they're going, everyone's going to watch the show, or a lot of people are going to watch the show, and they'll go, I'm so hyped for this, let me play the game. And then that's when it drops. So rather than it just sort of like, you can be watching the show and then you buy the game before, like, you wait until one's done, then you get the game.
Well, that's what I'm doing. I started playing State of Decay 2 because I didn't want to play The Last of Us, because it's the first one's that long ago that there's bits that I don't remember, and I'm like, I'd like to keep it that way for the duration of this TV show. And I haven't. It's only been like whenever Last of Us 2 came out. I've already done that like 2 or 3 times, so I don't want to do it again just yet. I finished Days Gone ages ago. So what's left? State of Decay 2.
State of Decay's fine. Yeah.
That's as much as I'm willing to put into it. It's all right.
I played a bunch of it.
I think it'd be better. I
think
it'd be better together. I'll be honest, but
well, it is multiplayer.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. Like,
I see. Yeah.
It's a shit version of Days Gone up to now. I'll be honest. But
when you build up your community a bit more, and like everyone's like really fucking powerful and stuff, and you've got decent weapons and good gear, and like a whole bunch of cars, and everyone's like well trained up.
Yeah, I got loads of cars, loads of good guns and everything, and
it's really good.
I got quite a few nearly maxed out people. It's just annoying. I'm sick of fucking people whinging at me to do stuff. It's like, leave me alone.
That's any game.
Yeah, I know, but I don't want that in this. I got enough to deal with fucking zombies.
In my life.
I did a mission, and a neighbouring person wanted help to go and get some meds back. So I went with them, took them with me, went with them, and I took my best character, and I nearly got killed. So I just jumped in the car and drove off. And then as I got back to the base to go to the infirmary, come up to the thing that was like break the news to the other person. I was like, oh shit, I left that fucking person there.
just watching you drive off, just like
shit.
I'll walk, I guess. I'll walk back.
I didn't even think, because like they got to the point where they ripped the door off the fucking car and everything. So I'm out of it.
The habit, like like when there's like a play card that's like got like a whole bunch of, there's like a big horde that you want to tackle. Start a mission and get like an ally or something like that to like join, so you've got 2 extra people.
Yeah,
and then go and just tackle all the hard stuff, because then you've got an extra pair of hands with you.
Makes sense. Although, another thing against it, these ain't fucking hordes. I played Days Gone.
What difficulty you on?
Just whatever normal is.
Yeah, bump it up, then start whinging about it.
They're still not hordes.
Callum, we're not talking about fucking State of Decay. We're talking about The Last of Us.
We're talking about The Last of Us. So we're on episode 4. Well, we're on episode 5, but obviously that's not out yet. So let's just start with 3. Bill's episode, the fleshed out episode of a character that we only had a brief interaction with in the game. Obviously, in the game, you just go to him. You're there for like half hour, and then you fuck off.
Yeah, but Frank was never actually in it.
No, he's just mentioned in name only.
Yeah.
Excellent episode, I'll be honest.
I fucking loved it.
Very good episode.
What we were talking about the first time around, we were just sort of like, if you're just going to do it shot for shot, why bother? That, to me, was like, this is why you do it. It's because you go, well, this guy's really interesting. What's his deal? Let's just zoom in on that and just pull that apart. What does that guy look like? And it was so good. It's like what The Walking Dead thought that they were doing. This is like real interesting characters, and like it doesn't have to have everyone fighting and killing. Sometimes you can just like he's got everything sorted out. He's like, everyone's fucked off. I've got this place entirely to myself. I can survive, and I can make incredible looking meals. And it's nice to also have like a show where it's just sort of like, oh, here's a random guy that's just outside. Doesn't betray him, doesn't try and kill him, doesn't bring like the whole, like, it's just sort of like, it's just a really nice.
That's the thing though, like,
love
even
story.
though we knew, because obviously it's hinted at in the game that they were a couple, it's never specifically said. And in that, obviously, in the magazine Ellie has in the car she picks up from when you go to the Bill's house.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
When you got to go through all the traps and stuff, and it's insinuated and heavily implied that he is gay. But even with that knowledge, I still had the feeling, I was like, you better not fucking betray him. I swear to fucking God. Like, because it was just very well, like, there was just that little thing about him, like, is he genuine? Or
yeah,
and
like,
even,
is he like manipulating or
yeah. Because he was just very pushy, like taking a meal, having the shower, getting him to play the piano and stuff. But by the time you get to the end of the episode, I felt like that was more of a, this is a gay man who, he's got gaydar, and he could tell, and he was just trying to bring him out of his shell a little bit.
Potentially, yeah. Where it's just sort of like, like, clearly, like, I know that you can play. Why don't you just play for me? I'll go, but why don't you play? And then it just kind of, again, it's sort of like coaxing him out.
Yeah.
But I love the fact as well that, like, Bill just doesn't trust Joel and Tess at all. Like, Frank's just sort of like, come around for tea, and they got like a little picnic. Like, oh, it's just sort of like, oh, we're almost like normal people. And he's just got his gun on the table. It's just like, I could just shoot you both now, and I'd sleep better for it. Like, I'd be absolutely fine with that. But it was just like, there wasn't just sort of like, it wasn't like an all out, everyone's just a soppy idiot, and it's not like, I'm the Batman sort of gruff, I don't want to love anyone. Like, again, it's sort of like, but it's just like, right, okay, we both want this. The odds of us finding another person, let alone another gay person out here, is probably pretty slim. So this is going to happen, but I'm not a whore, so I'm staying here for a few days. I was just like, it makes sense.
Gave it a bit of humour to the moment, and I forgot what the actual line is. It's what Bill says to Frank, and he's like, I was never afraid until I met you. And obviously, at that point, he's afraid of losing him and stuff.
Losing him.
I mean, like, when he's fighting off the fucking bandits, and
he's just in the middle of the street, just like, pow!
Like nailing them all, even though he's been shot through the fucking side and stuff.
Yeah, that looks horrible.
But you didn't see how bad it was until he got him on the table.
Yeah.
And it's, but even that, like, where Joel's like, that fence ain't gonna last. You've probably got like another couple of weeks of that, and he's just putting all the being realistic and stuff. And it was quite funny that it's like, to whoever finds this, probably Joel. Like,
because like, who else could possibly get in?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I imagine, I'm surprised they knew the code, to be honest. Unless obviously
that's the thing. I guess
probably told them.
Well, no, I think it's just sort of like, it's, in my opinion anyway, it was implied that, that relationship's been building and they've been trading, and like, that's why he's just sort of like, Joel, you have access to the bunker. Yeah. It's not like we met once and you were kind of all right, so here's a key to all my shit. They'd be like, no, clearly there's a bigger relationship.
Yeah, it's gone on for a while.
But there was something that you raised about that you didn't like, that Joel basically went into this like insane armory and was just like, or wasn't at least, he wasn't seen. I know, right? Oh, that's so good. But he didn't be seen to be taking anything with him, and like, he had one assault rifle that he hid because he knew where that would be, and then he could come back to it, and ammo's scarce. And you said, why didn't he just like rinse that place out, or like, why didn't he take a bunch of stuff with him? And I said, well, it's difficult, and you need to carry it all around with you. It'd be super heavy. And then in episode 4, Callum, my point was proven
the car
exactly.
Crashed.
Because as soon as that went into a thing, they had to bail, and all of that gun, all those guns, all that ammo, everything would have been lost.
You wouldn't take everything though, and like like handguns, anything you can get in your fucking pockets, and any guns you can like have a strap and you can have it on and stuff. You could drive with all them and that.
That's true, but if you've got to carry that shit around with you, and also that's also ammunition and magazines that fit all of them as well.
Yeah, I mean, you'd basically look at, right, I've got a handgun, I've got a rifle, and
rifles and shotguns make sense because you can have loose rounds for those.
That's what I mean. So you just look
pockets
what's
full of
Bill
shells
got. That's a much better. That gun's in. It's the same gun I've got already. It's a shotgun or whatever, but that's in much better condition. And here's a box full of ammo. Here's a bandolier. So you just take what's necessary, and they probably did. It's just off screen. But I mean, to be honest, I would just live there. What's the fucking point? I know his whole mission is to take Ellie to the Fireflies, but
now that he knows that it's been abandoned,
yeah, just like,
or as far as he's concerned,
for a few days at least,
they're dead. No, I'd just be like, I'll tell you what, I'll drop you off in Wyoming or whatever. I'm going to grab my brother, and I'm coming straight back here.
Yeah.
Like, you've got a full pantry. He's clearly like a doomsday prepper kind of thing.
Yeah, he's been ready for this for years and years and years.
Yeah,
and
for
years.
sure. Like, even if someone tries to take it off you, like all the traps and stuff like that, maybe you can't do it as well as him, but presuming that they're all still in place, and you can just go, well, okay, let's say that all the traps fail, or all of them go off, and then they get the walls down, and you just go into the bunker where you've got all the guns and all the ammo, and you just wait for them all. Yeah. You could just that would be a fortress eventually to kind of get through. But I thought it's just really interesting. Like, that is, to me, that's how you say he is like just a minor character, and this is how you make them more interesting. You don't just give them a cool scar or whatever.
No,
like there's this actual heart that's built into it as well.
On paper, it's probably the worst episode of any TV show ever.
Well, it would be like, so we've got another episode where there's no bad guys. Yeah. But
it works.
Was the game really about that though? Was it sort of like, it's not like Call of Duty where it's just like set piece to set piece to set piece?
No, but I mean, like, this is the problem with all game to TV/movie adaptations is. So The Last of Us, there's a lot of moments where it's quiet, you're looting, milling about, maybe even get a little bit, like Last of Us 2 is a lot bigger than the first one, you get a little bit lost, maybe. But you're doing it, so you're invested, and if that film or TV show can't, not necessarily match it, but if they can't maintain your investment into these characters, it's already lost. And up to now, 4 episodes in, we've only really had a few actiony moments, yet it's maintained the same like level. I'm still as interested in it as I was by the end of the first episode.
Yeah, the fact that they haven't fought off a horde of clickers makes absolutely zero difference.
Yeah, it's well acted. It's well written. Having Neil Druckmann on to just oversee everything was just a genius move, and I'm hoping that's going to be the same for Fallout with Todd Howard. And I think this was probably the biggest problem with Halo is they got a guy who openly said
he's never
played any of the games.
Never played it. Yeah.
Well, you're not fucking directing it. Fuck off. But considering how against this TV show I was, I'm very happy to say I'm very much enjoying it. And I don't say that very often about things that I like, and I don't like to be proven wrong. So, but in this instance, I'm glad, very glad.
Well, I've got a question for you, right? So, moving on from episode 3 into episode 4, we get a lot more sort of like Ellie and Joel stuff. Like, their chemistry is really fucking good. Like, he seems to be warming to her now, which is, again, that's really good. There's this like camp of other people.
Yeah.
So let's just make that clear. They played the get help card. He was just like, nah, not having any of this. They instantly started shooting at him. They managed to kill them all. Brilliant. That was a good little action because again, it wasn't just sort of like one shot. It was just he was just getting peppered
from the game. That bit is in the game.
That's what I was going to ask. So, one, that seemed like it was too well set up to just be like, or it just seemed purposeful, that whole thing. 2, the other camp of people,
Fedra.
Again, it's been so long since I played it. Are they in that as well? Like that woman, like who's like that leader of that community?
I don't remember her specifically, I'll be honest, but the band of people, like every time you encounter someone that's not an infected, it's one of these.
So is it just sort of like they're just general?
Just your human enemies to fight.
But this is the thing, right? So if that's the case, that's fine. So this is sort of like your spawn point for all your bad guys that they're going to be dealing with.
Yeah.
But the way that they seem to be humanising it a bit. So they've got a doctor who's been shackled. I say humanising, and then she shoots him in the fucking head. But
spoilers.
I mean that. I'm too late for that now. But I mean, they seem to be like putting story behind it. So it's sort of like we're not going to be sympathetic towards them necessarily, but maybe it's just sort of like rather than just being generic bad guys, or like you say, if you're not infected, if you're out in the wilderness, you're a bad guy automatically. And then obviously right at the end of the episode is when we meet
Sam and Henry.
I want to say Henry, yeah. So that again, that's going to lead into like a really sort of like again crucial kind of moment, because from what the impression that I'm getting from this so far, anyone that you don't know is definitely going to be a threat. Like everyone is just on edge with everyone. Very, very vaguely. And I think I remember what happens with them, but I also don't want to say in case that's wrong, or if it is, I'd rather not remember at all.
Just forget it, and then you'll find out next episode.
Presumably so, yeah. But I think that I don't want them to focus too much on the sort of like human bad guys that much, maybe.
Not when we haven't had that much infected just yet.
Well, which is the last thing I was going to ask about this, because again, you're more recent, you're going to know this. When that dude is like, you got to come and check this out, and he opened that door and like the floor is just sort of like moving.
Yeah.
That to me looks like, there's like a boss. There's like a big old fucking monster that's like crawling around, or it's just like a big spread of infected mold or whatever.
I'm going to say it is going to be like maybe like there's a sewer system and they're under there and it's spreading underneath, because there isn't you've got like I don't know what they're called, I call them bloaters. On Left 4 Dead, you get your different varieties and there's always the big fat one. That's the same in this.
You shoot it, explodes, yeah.
And in this one, it's like a gassy thing that spreads out. And there's 2 that you fight that are notable ones. And
is one of them in a school gym?
One's in a gymnasium, and the other one is like I think it's the first one. I think it's the first one you fight is in a tunnel, like a car tunnel. And it's like you have to go on top of these buses and stuff. And then that's the first time you encounter them. And then but they've already taken out Upside Down Joel bit, because that's already happened in the game. So when
I have seen a few people who have whinged about like where was this bit? Why haven't you fought this thing yet?
So so I think you can discount those particular ones, because I genuinely can't remember where they are in the game up to where we are now. But the only other thing that it could be is from the second one, which I'm not going to talk about, so obviously I haven't played the second one. But the only other thing, because there's no real, the gymnasium one's the only real boss fight.
But unless, like you say, if that's sort of like if the spores or the mold or whatever it is like, it's sort of like corroding the floor. Yeah. And then that would give way, and then there's a bigger thing underneath it that would bust out, or it could just be a big old group of them that they're just chilling in the sewers, maybe. However, given the premise for this whole fucking show so far is get this girl to this lab, whatever. Don't let anyone know that she's been bitten, because they'll kill her immediately. Yeah. If you go, here's a giant hole of things that's this monster, and you go, don't worry about that, let's see who... Like, no, deal with the potential giant monster problem first. That's the priority. Instantly, it's got to be, right?
Well, you'd like to think
because
so.
As soon as you go, don't worry about that, let's go and do something else. As soon as that falls through and everyone goes, oh shit, well, we weren't expecting like 400 clickers to come flying out of the goddamn building because no one told us. You go, everyone, there's a thing in the floor, set it on fire immediately. Yeah. Like, close the building, burn it.
What I love about this is like just a slightly backtrack. Two things with this episode. One, just on about the guys that we're on about, and they're stupid because they've done that, and like you said, they're ignoring a much bigger threat than Ellie and Joel. But they tried to jump them. Joel saw through it. Then they started shooting them. Joel killed the first one, and then the other one's just like, "You motherfucker!" It's like, well, you fucking started.
Yeah, you started this.
Like, everything that's happened is 100% your fault. So
absolutely
fuck off.
Is.
The other thing is, I finished every single one of Ellie's jokes before she did. Much to Zoe's annoyance.
The
from
the hereditary
diarrhea
thing. I didn't know that was a joke. I don't know if that's a joke from the game that she tells as well.
I don't know if it's in the game, but I've used that on a podcast before.
Oh, really?
Yes.
No way.
I've used most of these on a podcast, and I'm pretty sure that's where she's got them from.
But that sort of break in, like, he's getting into, like, you know, having her around a bit.
Yeah.
Like, it's there. Like, clearly you can tell that those two, as like actors, have spent a lot of time together to kind of help meld, like, or sort of like make their chemistry far more
they've got very good
believable.
Chemistry.
So do we know how many episodes there are?
I want to say 8.
Okay, so we're about halfway through then.
Which is more concerning because we're not really chunking along.
But that's fine. If they go, okay, well, the second season is going to be the end of the game.
The second season is the second game.
Okay,
They've
well then
said.
that fucking sucks because unless Last of Us 2 comes out first, I'm not going to be able to play that.
No, Last of Us 2 will be on PC before. Well, no, they'll probably do the same as this. It'll come out after.
Maybe, but then I'd have to wait until the entire season's finished.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair,
You've waited
I'm
this
okay
long.
with that. 'Cause, well, also that, but I don't mind going, I'm not going to watch that because it's only going to spoil something else for me. So I'd rather play the game and then watch it back, and then I've got the sort of like...
You don't know how hard it's been the last...
of us.
The last few interactions we've had where we've talked about The Last of Us, where I've gone, what?
But that's the thing. If they decide to go, oh, here's a thing from The Last of Us 2, 1, I won't get that reference.
Yeah.
And 2, it would be a big spoiler.
I generally thought they'd... So there's a bit in it, I don't know... you've played it, so it's not a spoiler.
A bit of it, I haven't played the second one.
No, first one.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I said to someone else I was talking to, so do you remember the bit in the snow when you start playing as Ellie in the first one?
Where there's... I think she's hunting.
Yeah,
And then, like, that's where there's like a ski lodge or a restaurant or something like that, and that's where she gets jumped by a bunch of dudes.
Yeah, well, no, she doesn't get jumped. They help her, and then they tell her that they've got meds to help. So, at that part of the game, you're basically led to believe Joel's, like, died, because he falls off the thing prior to that.
Right, no, I don't remember that, but...
It doesn't last
I remember
very long.
that's what... Yeah, I do remember that you had to take over because he was out of action, so she was trying to help him out. Yeah.
And the way it's unfolded is he's either really, really, really injured or he's dead. And then obviously unfolded, he's obviously just needs the meds because he gets... I'm not going to tell you because obviously you don't remember that much, so leave some of it thingy. But me personally, that's an excellent place to leave season 1. Because you just go,
oh, with the cliffhanger.
Whoa, fucking hell, didn't expect fucking Jesus. But then season 2, the rest of the game, job done.
Yeah.
And you get 2 seasons out of it. They've said, because the second one's so big, it's probably going to be 2 or 3 seasons, the second game. So we could have had 2 seasons of the first game, 3 seasons of the second game. There's 5 seasons there.
But potentially, though, if this wasn't well received and you leave halfway through and you don't get a second season, there's no closure on that at all.
Yeah, they knew this was going to They had
potentially.
Neil Druckmann was very
I'm
confident.
sure they think that most things that they go, we're going to put time and effort and money into this. They think most things are going to succeed.
True.
Why would you make a show that you go, this is going to fucking tank this?
Yeah. I mean, I imagine some people have. We've already fucking paid for it. Just fucking do it.
Yeah, maybe.
Like Rick and Morty.
But so far, so Rick and Morty is an interesting topic as well, with Justin Roiland being, he's resigned, but presumably he also would have been fired.
Potentially, yeah.
From working on Rick and Morty anymore, and he's also left
Squanch Games.
Squanch Games, that's it, yeah. So his involvement with any like High on Life sequels or any other games that they were looking to, again, that's stopped
Solar
immediately.
Opposites, Koala Man, Rick and Morty.
Koala Man I haven't seen yet. Solar Opposites, I'm just sort of like, do you know what? It's not
It's all right.
Rick and Morty, really.
Nah.
It's fine. It's like it's got a couple of good. Like I like the wall of like miniaturized people. Like it's like that's a whole separate sub story. Like I really like that. But it's not wacky enough to be Rick and Morty.
Ricky and Morty.
But it also, if it was trying to be, it wouldn't be as good.
Yeah.
And it's not serious because it couldn't then be a comedy. Do you know what I mean? And I started watching Little Demon the other day. The Danny DeVito, Lucy DeVito,
Yeah.
Aubrey Plaza thing. It's fine, I guess.
So I watched a very brief clip of it, and I was like, that's I'll get to it at some point thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was in no major rush to watch it, but I thought, you know what, it's Danny DeVito and that, and I like Aubrey Plaza, so I'll give it a watch. And it's just sort of like, it's all right.
I'll give it a ganders. I say Rick and Morty's going to carry on. They said they're going to get at least probably another 10, up to season 10 or something like that.
I reckon they'll do one more season and see how people react. If people go, this is dog shit now,
they can only do
no one sounds like the same.
One or two things. They either get a voice actor, an impressionist that can do Rick and Morty impressions, and they just carry on as is, or they go, gee, Rick, we're going through this portal. And hey, my voice has changed. What's going on, Rick? That's all it's going to be.
Or, to be fair, they could be super meta about it and just go, oh, your voice sounds different, Rick. It's like, yeah, because the other guy got fired. Anyway.
The other guy gone to jail for fucking beating his wife up or
it's
whatever.
Like, yeah, but we won't talk. It's like, because they did that in Big Mouth, didn't they?
I can't remember, to be honest.
So, the woman who voiced Missy.
Which one was Missy, the blonde one? Because that's the guy that
No, that's Lola.
Yeah, that's who I was thinking. I was going to say Lola's voiced by one of the...
It's fucking Nick Kroll.
Nick Kroll, yeah.
Because, yeah. No, Missy was... it's Andrew.
Yeah, the black girl.
So, yeah. So, that was a white woman who voiced her.
Yeah.
And then they were just sort of like... It's just like, I've always had the voice of like a 37-year-old white woman or something like that. And then... I can't remember if the studio said we don't feel comfortable with this anymore, or I think it was the voice actress like I don't feel comfortable.
But why should that matter though?
Well, but because again, if you're like okay, well I could just go and get another job doing another voice, but how many black actresses like voiceover artists are there going to be that could sort of step in and do this?
But you should have thought that beforehand.
Which is an argument I would have made. It's like if you're making a stand on it and you only want people that you're trying to represent certain communities, well, only get them to come in and to come in and voice those characters, Or maybe again they didn't think it was going to be so fucking successful. They didn't have to worry about that sort of stuff. But then they got someone who is a black actress who's kind of just doing an impression of the other woman. So it because I had to because it was so noticeable. It sounds very similar, but it was like one episode and then it's just boop, changed.
But
and I was just
it's not
what happened?
Massively out of place. You don't sit there for the whole episode.
Adapt to it.
Yeah, it just works. It's a similar way with Joel, really. With Pedro, I thought it was going to be very fucking jarring. And after, I'd say very much the entirety of the first episode, but after that, it's just like, he's all right. It's not my Joel, but he's a good Joel. And just kind of go with it now. And I imagine that'll be the same with Rick and Morty after a couple of episodes. However they do it, as long as the show's still funny, which I don't know
But that's
if it
the
will
thing.
be, but...
I don't think people will be able to differentiate like the fact that maybe he's been doing voices. That doesn't mean that he's doing the writing or whatever. So the writing staff could be exactly the same, writing the same jokes and stuff. But they go, oh, they changed it all. It's terrible now.
Well, have you seen? Yes, it was today or yesterday. I can't remember. I read it that so Dan Harmon come out and said, I haven't spoken to Justin Roiland for over 10 years. It's like, I mean, I think you have, you liar. And then most of the staff for Rick and Morty, Solar Opposites and stuff are like, yeah, some of us have never met Justin. We haven't even spoke to him over Zoom, and he never came to these things. It's like, it just seems to be damage control more than anything else.
Potentially, it could just be like as much distance as we can put ourselves between him.
But it's only it's an easy way for them to turn around and go, like when they do release the new season, and they go, if they've already said, well, Justin had nothing to do with the writing or anything else, so it's going to be exactly the same, it's just going to be the voices that'll be different, then people theoretically won't go, oh, it's not the same as it used to be. Because if he had no involvement with it, it should just be the same. True, but then
that means that there's a lot of stupid people in the world, Callum, and that means they'd have to know, they'd have to have prior knowledge that, oh, there's been this change and this is why, so, it's a good reason why they just go, God, they changed the voice actor as well. It sounds terrible now.
Yeah.
Not funny anymore. 2 out of 10.
Too much water.
Yeah. But that's like if you just so if they go, oh, we'll do like another 5 seasons or whatever, I think they'll be like, we'll see how the next one goes, and then we'll make a decision on.
Well, they'd already been ordered, haven't they? Which is the only reason.
That's irrelevant. They could still back out.
I think it's popular enough that it can probably withstand a few. See, maybe not get to 10. I mean, it's on 7, so we're going to do 3. Shorten them seasons down to like only 10 episodes or something. See how it goes. But it's just a bit of a farce. And he hasn't been found guilty of anything yet either, so it might even turn out that he's innocent.
Yeah, I don't think it would have gotten to this point if he was even remotely innocent, mate.
I honestly don't know. I don't know.
Smoke, fire, all that.
He probably is a bastard.
Because otherwise you'd be like, I haven't done anything wrong. Like, why are people trying to drag me over the coals? I mean, you'd be standing up against it.
He's been shouting his innocence, obviously, but most guilty people do. But I say a lot of people have pointed out it's a bit weird that everything's been brought back up again after the massive success of Rick and Morty and High on Life. Like, High on Life was like the second most played game ever on Game Pass.
That surprises me, actually. I thought it'd be like, it's a cool thing. I didn't think it would have been bigger than like your Forza's. Like, that seems like it's got more mass appeal.
I don't rate it that high. I think it's
what, Forza?
No, High on Life. It's good. It's okay.
It's a good sort of like platformy, silly.
Take the voices out of it, loses a lot of its appeal. It's just a generic shooter then.
But then it's still sort of like, oh, the Schnobblebops have done the Bingleborg.
That's what I mean.
It's like, yeah, this is just Rick and Morty talk.
Everything is.
You could literally just have Rick and Morty in that game, and I'll be like, oh, it's just one of the dimensions that's in it.
That could have been some DLC further down the line.
Well, not anymore.
Definitely not now. But it's a massive shame because I genuinely fucking love Rick and Morty. But again, it's nothing to do with me, so I don't get to say in any of it regardless, and neither do any of the general public. What we do have a say in, though, is if people are going to buy Hogwarts Legacy, much like you have.
I have, as we've probably mentioned before, I'm not a really big advocate for pre-orders and deluxe versions of games and things, because more often than not it's just sort of like you get a cool suit or you get a skin for a gun or whatever,
or just a thank
and it's
you.
usually not worth it. The Hogwarts Legacy DLC deluxe edition, though, meant that you could play the game 3 days early, and you got you did get a couple of aesthetics, but you also got a Defense Against the Dark Arts Battle Arena or something like that, which is like a different game mode, or an additional game mode. Not to say that it won't be added in later on or could be purchasable separately. So yeah, I bought that
immediately.
And like as soon as I basically found out that it was like, oh, it's not just skins and stuff, and I could play it 3 days early. What the fuck? I got it on the 7th, and then I realised that it was going to be 75 gig. And then I couldn't even start playing it until midnight.
Still couldn't figure that out.
I was kind of annoyed.
Why though? Because it repeatedly said you could play it on the 7th, after midnight on the 7th.
Well, technically, it started for me at 11:58. So technically, I did play it on the 7th. I only had 2 minutes before they rolled into the 8th.
One thing said, like, you could stay up till midnight, like, from I forgot what day it was, so... What day was the 7th?
Tuesday, I think.
Tuesday, so you'd stay up Monday into Tuesday, and you could play it, much like some people...
well, potentially in, like, America or Asia.
No, here
that could have been the case.
Did that. I know people who were playing it, and then when we looked at it, thought, oh, maybe that's just for Xbox and PlayStation. And then it said for PC users, you'll have to wait till 6 p.m. GMT. But it was after 6 o'clock when you were trying to play it.
Yeah.
So it was just a big fucking...
Like, after it
they just lied.
Finally installed. I just think it's people just sort of like, they've seen 6 o'clock, and then they just assume that that's 6 o'clock in their country rather than taking into account time zones and stuff. At this point, it's irrelevant, though, because it is out, and I have played it. And Callum, it's really fucking good, mate. I'm really enjoying it so far.
How would you rate it out of... How many muggles would you give it? So far, this isn't your final score. This is just what you've
it's a big old game, mate, and I'm only 5 hours in. So far, as you're probably aware, there are various classes that you can do. I've only had one of each so far. So that's about 5 hours in. I've done a bit of mooching about, a bit sort of exploring and stuff. I haven't got any of the cool stuff. I haven't got a broom. I haven't got a thing to fly about on. I've got to walk everywhere. There's a few sort of like general side questy things that I've done. Just people just sort of like, oh, I've lost all my things. Can you go and find my things for me? So just sort of like a bunch of sort of like, go here and do a thing, and then go here and do a thing, and you got a scarf.
Yeah, just like generic quests.
Yeah. And I can't fucking get enough of it. And it's just like, oh, you've lost all your marbles. Sure, where did you see them last? I'll go and find them. I'll Accio every one of those motherfuckers. But like, there's like a whole like spell list that you unlock by doing missions and stuff, and I haven't looked at any of the ones except the ones I've unlocked.
Yeah.
Because I'm just sort of like, oh, there'll be a cool thing or a death, like, because you can kill people and stuff like that. Although I don't know how that works necessarily. If you could just walk around town and just murder everyone, I don't know how that would work. But
try it.
But the combat is it's a WB game, so it's Arkham combat. It's just shoot, wise block. But it feels so fucking smooth in this. Just the actions and stuff like that. It feels like how, like, you know, like when they'd train them for the movies and they're like, look, this is your particular stance and this is how you do it. And it's very fluid, and then we'll animate around it. It feels exactly like that. But it feels very intuitive. Like where you're aiming is where things will go. Things will home slightly. Everything has like a little highlight thing if you can actually do something with it. The only problem I've had with it is because it's so good looking, and like when you're in Hogwarts, it feels like it fucking renders the entire fucking school. Because potentially it could just be, obviously this is 3 days before the technical release date. There could just be some frame rate issues, some optimization issues that need to be ironed out. I have had it shit its pants a couple of times when it comes to the frame rate. Like when you just sort of like, because there is so much stuff going on. Like just walking through the castle, and like every picture on the wall is doing a thing. Yeah. There's people all around that are all doing things and talking, and there's magic things that they're doing. And like things are just floating around and doing stuff, and like there's just so much life that's going on. Good God, it forced my computer to really rethink its life choices, because it was just like, oh my God, what? Oh, and the stairs are coming in. Oh God, there's a ghost now. What the fuck? But when you get into like sort of like a contained, I mean, I was playing it early before we started this podcast, and again, I was just sort of running around in the wilderness, not a single issue, which makes me think, oh, this isn't my computer freaking out. I think it's just.
Yeah, it's not just a bit for the castle, and
it's not optimized particularly well, maybe.
Still,
and also I had a fight that I had to reset 3 times because after I'd beaten them all, it didn't end.
Well, it's out tomorrow, isn't it? On the 10th.
Yes. Yeah. So potentially we could see a patch or two in the next couple of days or so.
I imagine there'll be a day 1 patch.
Maybe so. But you'd figure that they would have already ironed all of that out if they know that people are going to be playing it early. But whilst there's been a bit of a frame rate issue, and I'm not playing it on anywhere near like there's like ultra and like ray tracing options and stuff. My God, on like a high end machine, like the high end machine, this would look unbelievable. Like the character models and the facial expressions and the talking and all that. It's so good looking. It's surprising that this is also an RPG, like that's so expansive and big.
Open world. But then again, Red Dead 2 still looks real fucking good.
No, but I mean made by Warner Brothers.
Oh, sorry. I just thought you mean the size of the game. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean that is, but again, that's a studio that's very good at doing that as well. But this being sort of like, there's not really a skill tree. Again, I'm only a few hours into this, but there's not really a skill tree and sort of like upgrade your spell.
Yeah.
Like so, your normal spells are more powerful after. Like it just seems that you just as a character you just become more powerful as you level up. So everything just goes up.
Which makes sense.
But just there's just like because the spells because there's so many different spells that you can have. You just remap them on the fly, so everything gets set to like your diamond, so like triangle, square, X circle, or YXBA. So you just sort of remap on the fly. So there's certain things like you can repair stuff, but if you're going into combat, you go, well, I'll turn that one off. I'll have this one that sets something on fire instead.
Yeah.
So you can mix and match to do whatever you want to, but it just feels so thematic. Like you're just walking through a dark thing and you just lumos, and then like everything just sort of like slinks away from the light, and it's like everything just feels like it's so purposefully done. I don't think that it's getting the reviews that it is because people are just going, "Yay, Harry Potter," because it's got nothing to do with any of that so far. There's like
most of the bad reviews are because of J.K. Rowling's tweets.
That's true, which I'd rather not touch on because the idiot ramblings of one particular person has got nothing to do with the game necessarily. You've got thousands of people who have put thousands and thousands of hours into creating something. You can pretty much guarantee that most, if not all of them, probably don't share the same views as someone who came up with the source material for whatever it is that they're doing. This is a passion for them, and I'm in support of them, not her. That's simple as that. I don't have any opinion on whatever it is because I don't know enough. I also don't care enough about what celebrities are fucking whinging on about. People have got stupid opinions, and I can like their work.
This is why celebrities shouldn't have Twitter.
And yet, it's why I keep on using it. Every time I go on there, I'm just like, oh, why do I keep using this fucking program? But so far, was it worth the pre-order? Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen any of the benefits of it yet because like it's all for shit. I haven't unlocked. It was 42 quid I got it for, CD keys.
That's very good.
That was the deluxe one as well.
.com/affiliates.
I did buy it through our affiliates page.
I think
get some of that sweet commish.
I'll probably get it for Series X or PS5.
I'd say PS5 is probably hardware-wise. That'll be the one to really because like there's so many sort of like particles and rays like sort of like light.
The Series X has got the most teraflops. Whichever one's cheap, I will probably get it on Series X because if I get it on PS5, I'll have to get it off the PSN store, so it's going to be like 70 quid. So I'll probably get Series X. But I also might just download it on PC, either or. But all I'm thinking is single-player RPG, big fucking telly. It's going to look nice. It's going to look nice on either of them consoles.
Yeah, true.
And traditionally, any single-player games I will always buy for console because we're not playing it together. I can just sit on the chair or on the sofa or something and play it. But I'll probably... I don't know. I'm umming and ahhing whether to get it tomorrow or wait a bit.
I'd say if this is something we could do today, like together, I would have bought it for you by now. Yeah, exactly. But I don't think you're going to lose anything by waiting. Like you still get as long as you stay away from like any spoilers.
Yeah,
like, I haven't seen anything as of yet that would even qualify as it.
I've literally looked at the Metacritic score, see how it's faring.
Which is
it was reasonably high. I'll be very honest. Now I don't know because I looked on the Tuesday. So let me have a quick, very brief ganders. It was doing all right though. What do you reckon it is?
I'd say about 87, something like that.
It is on 85 Metascore.
I'd say that's more than reasonable.
And 9 on user score. But the user score goes out of 10.
Yeah.
So Metascore's out of 100. User score is 10.
I'd say potentially, like, so they're very, again, they already said this before the game was even released, and they're going to say it like about 10 minutes after the game starts. They're just like, yeah, the Quidditch field's closed, so no Quidditch this year. I've got a feeling.
Oh, it's got the most on Xbox. Sorry. PC's got the least, 83. 80,
maybe that's if
Xbox.
It's optimization issue, maybe a couple of frame rate issues or a couple of drop-ins or outs, maybe.
Sorry, you were saying that.
What was I saying then? Quidditch,
yeah.
So, they, like, obviously the studio said, no, that's not going to be like a thing that you can do. They would be, unless they go, oh, people are absolutely loving this, right? Second one, get it in development. Let's do it. We'll do a sequel. We'll do a prequel. We'll do whatever. It's, you know, if it's like this, we've already got all the shit for the castle. Fine, adding Quidditch. They would be absolutely missing a trick if they don't include that as like a DLC thing.
Do you not think there'll be something later on in the game that is like that era's version of Quidditch?
Well, no, it's not just a case of like, oh, we haven't decided, like we it doesn't exist yet. There is the Quidditch pitch. It's there. You just can't use it. So the sport is off the table. But that's what I mean. Are they just going to go, fuck it, we'll patch that in later, or we'll do it?
Why though?
Maybe if they got any sense, they say we will introduce Quidditch, but it will be a multiplayer thing. So that's that you can't go in and mooch about together, but you can Quidditch together, and like you could have like Quidditch matches and stuff like that could be online. That's completely separate from the game, or like I say, they just see how this one does, and then if they make a second one, they pop it in there instead.
Yeah, do that.
Because so far it looks beautiful.
There'll definitely be a sequel.
So I can only think that it would be helped because like there's still broomsticks and stuff that you can fly about on. I think.
Yeah, you can fly about. I've seen the videos for getting around. So.
Which I'm like 5 or 6 hours in yet. I haven't got a fucking broom yet. So I'm just walking everywhere, and it's always just sort of like, oh, meet me in the upper field. And it's like, oh, do I have to? Can you not just tell? Well, I'm not joking. I had to go for like a side quest mission, right? And it was like, oh, meet this person that you've already been introduced to. Because I'm presuming that if you like start in a different house, you may not meet the same people. Maybe I don't know. Yeah. But she was like, oh, I need to tell you something. Come and meet me this thing. And it was like a fucking mile away. So I had to walk all the way down there. And then I got there and she just sort of like told me some information and said like, oh, I'll meet you later. And I was like,
no, you'll meet me now.
you couldn't have just told me what you needed
like
in a fucking letter or something. I tell you what, I did see something earlier. I was trying to trick like an AI into getting into a fight because there was just someone just sort of like walking through the woods and there was like some wolves just sort of mooching about. So I shot one of them and it sort of like came to grief me. Soon as it's like started to like go into like combat mode, the AI goes like and just like, you know when they like someone touches like a port key and they get teleported, it just does that. And I was just like, that's so smart because that way you can't have like a city battle where there's like 50 people fighting. Everyone just bounces, which is kind of also a bullshit coward move because it's like, oh, you're just going to leave a child to fight all the wolves. Thanks very much, love. Cheers.
Can you not tame the wolves? Have an ally.
Potentially, there's like, again, maybe there's a whole bunch of spells and stuff like that you can do. So maybe that is something you can do a bit later on. But I'm going to play it sort of reasonably. They put me in Ravenclaw, so it's like the nerds, and it is just. As soon as you go into the common room and they're just talking about fucking astronomy and stuff, and it's like, oh, this is the dork room, isn't it? But you know, maybe I'll do a Slytherin and like on a replay, and I'll be an evil wizard or whatever.
I'm looking forward
or an evil
to
witch,
it.
maybe.
I'm looking forward to it.
But yeah, it's so far it hasn't hit the sort of like the RPG repetitiveness. Like it seems different and unique enough to kind of like, and there's obviously it's all magic and mystery and whatever. So there's like puzzles and shit. So it seems like there's a lot to do before you even consider replaying. I think it's about 50 hours for like full completion. So if you do that and then you go, and now I'll do it evil.
Straight story or Does that include any side
No,
stuff?
I think that is full everything. But it's assuming as well that's not just sort of taking time to enjoy.
That's what I mean. It's some games where sometimes you'll just mill about and look at stuff because it's pretty. I did that.
That's
in
the
Red
thing.
Dead.
Like playing Red Dead, I just don't want to go mission to mission to mission to mission, or like Fallout. I don't want to hit like side quest mission, side quest, side quest, side quest. I want to just sort of wander,
just enjoy
and just
it.
go. I just want to explore and enjoy it, and take it as it comes, and stumble across a side quest rather than be studying the map looking for the next one. So I'm really keen to see when you get it, how different it is. Like, are you just going to start bumping into the same people like as I did? Like, you're going to come out and go, oh, there's that person.
But obviously, I assume they have gone, dependent on the houses, you'll bump into this. So if we chose the same house, we'd bump into the same person.
More than likely, yeah. But because I don't know if I can go to like any of the other common rooms. Because it'd be like, no, you can't go in the Gryffindor one because you're not a Gryffindor.
I don't know how it works in the Harry Potter universe, let alone the Hogwarts game. So
I also don't know. So potentially, I'm going to say it's you're trying to keep people in their own little sections.
Sense.
Maybe I don't know. Tell you what, though, there is one thing that has annoyed me so far, and it's not really a spoiler because it is like a part of the game. But obviously, potions is one of the things that you're doing, making potions. So, I was kind of a bit taken aback because it felt a bit sort of like, oh, that's a bit disappointing. I was expecting like when there's like a VR potion thing and it's just sort of like you're pouring this and you put a pinch of this in, and then you stir it all up. You do that for the first one, and then it's just like, okay, you just set the potion to go, and then like come back in 2 minutes and it's done. And I'm like, oh, I kind of wanted to like do it and like like in Breath of the Wild. But it's like every time you want to cook a meal, you can't just like get the recipe and go, that's what that one is, and you just press it and make it and make it and make it. You've still got to do it manually. I was kind of hoping for that, so I'm a bit sort of gutted that you can't just sort of like you got like a whole slew of like different things and shit that you can go and collect in the woods or whatever.
Well, that'd be good because if you do and you put add some of this in and sprinkle some of that in, but oh no, he's gone too green now, so he's going to be fucking ruined.
Exactly, but it's like maybe it'll be a health potion, but not as effective.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of stuff that I was expecting, but that's my own fault because again, I purposefully haven't looked into how all of this works.
Yeah.
So I was sort of like, oh, that's a bit disappointing. But then you fight something, and it's like, oh, this is incredible. Like this is where they put the effort in. But there's like, oh no, I won't say.
No, don't.
Like everything that you do, it all sort of like ties in together.
Yeah.
But I am really kind of interested to see if, when you get to the point where I am, has anything differed? Like, have we done the same side quests? Have we seen the same things? Have we met the same people? Have we got the same skills and stuff like that? So there's a whole bunch of like clothes and stuff like that you can
mix and match
find, and they all do it. Yeah, but it does suffer from that sort of like MMO thing of just sort of like, I've got this sweet like kind of like Burberry trench coat. This is ace. 30 minutes later, I found a better cloak and it's a school robe. Well, that one goes in the bin, I guess. Like that was the sort of like, I'd much prefer it if
what level is
you
the
sort of like you powered up.
They're just robes or?
So it's there's hats, face wear, so that's either glasses or masks or whatever. Scarves, robes, hands, so gloves. And then there's like, so there's the robes, but then there's like what's under the robes as well. So like a jumper or something like that.
I have to wear a robe if I don't want to.
No.
Yeah, so you could just wear the jumper or a jacket or.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I was walking around as like a cool sort of like Doctor Who, sort of like this like cool sort of like almost like a Trilby flat cap combo kind of thing, like with this Burberry trench coat and this cool sort of like flowing scarf. Fast forward an hour, and I've got a big green classic witch hat on.
What a change!
Like a gold silk robe, and I was just like, oh god, I look like an absolute fucking mess. Like, I much prefer it if I just powered up through the wand, maybe. And all the clothes and stuff like that, you can still have all of them, but they don't actually have an impact.
Do they have
that? I'd like
perks and traits and stuff, or are they just fashion accessories?
No, it's just. So I think there's like traits that you can build into them. So similar to like with like Mordor, like where you'd have like a sword and you could put like a rune in it. I've seen that you can do it, but I don't think I can do it yet. So there'll be like, so you'd find, or like The Witcher or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
you'd find a thing with a certain amount of slots in it, and then you can put stuff in it.
there.
So there's still plenty to do, and it doesn't, like, again, it doesn't feel like I've hit a grind point yet.
It's good.
I'm assuming that by the time I'm sort of like, don't make me go all the way across the town to fucking, like, the point that maybe they get to that, like 10, 15 hours, maybe they're like, here's a fucking shut
It might even be something that you've missed. Might have been there all along.
Or maybe that's it. Like, maybe I didn't do the missions in the order that I should have done, or earlier than I should have done, and I should have already have it by now. I don't know.
We'll find out then.
But that's what I mean. When you get it,
Yes.
maybe you get it way earlier than I do. I don't know.
Fine. I might go tomorrow. I'm gonna wait and see. Stop pressuring me, Dan.
Or maybe our friends at CD Keys can just tempt you with an incredible offer.
www.podcastversusplay.com/affiliates. Anyway, you go and have your chicken and naan bread and pre-preparing meals and stuff, and you go to podcastversusplay.com and check out all the other stuff that we've got on there. Dan, thanks for joining me. Enjoy your chicken and your pimping robe. Bye.